All right, so yeah, we're here on the Situk fishing for steelhead, right? If you're going to catch a steelhead, you got to figure out where the steelhead is. So this is our segment on how to catch a steelhead on the Situk. Okay. All right.
So
you've been here for what? You've been guiding on this river for 8 years.
Yeah,
you know this river like the back of your hand.
it's kind of disgusting. But
yeah. So what are you looking for? What's good steelhead holding water on the Situk?
All right. So the general saying here is foam is home. So
right,
they lay in the seam. They're mouth breathers, so they'll like sit there and lay, and they're all comfortable in the foam. Like sometimes on heavier currents, they could be laying off of it a little bit. I've seen that happen, but generally they're up in the brush or in like deep pockets on corners in the foam line.
Okay, so since those are the spots that they're lying, we have multiple presentations that we can do to make a steelhead bite.
Right.
And some are more effective than others depending on where you're fishing. Okay. So talk to us. What are your primary presentations?
So generally we're either floating jigs, beads, worms under bobbers, or we're throwing a drift presentation. Okay. So that's a presentation that we're keeping on the bottom. And generally we're trying with you could run a hook on the bottom, but like for our favorite rig, the Arrow Puff, has a little bit of a float foam, so it keeps that hook up off the ground to keep out of snags, which also lets us throw into pockets, get up underneath brush, and that float that puts that yarn right in those fish's face, and they can't resist it.
So anybody that's been watching these videos that we've done on the Situk over the years sees us side drifting and the caster throwing into a pocket upriver and getting it in there as quickly as possible, and that's why we use a bunch of split shot to get that down fast.
We do, but it's kind of a fine line because you don't want to use too much. You want to use just enough to keep that on the ground, but you don't want it to stick, and you want it to keep moving. And especially if moving with the boat is a little bit different because you're towing that rig with the boat. So if you're stationary like we are here, you want that weight to be just enough to keep that rig on the bottom. Like so,
tap tap. That's kind of what you want to be feeling.
So like if we were looking at this brush line right here. So if we were stationary fishing, like drift fishing this area right here, what I would be doing, and like for this, like I'm running 40-pound Power Pro grade down to a 20-pound mono leader, which I can get away with a little bit right now because of the watercolor. I generally fish 15. I like to fish 20 because I can rip it out of the trees if I need to.
What size hook do you use?
So I like to use a number 1 with these puffs because it lets that. I mean, you're not gonna have that hook hidden by all that yarn and the beads above it. A lot of people run 2s, 1s stick them hard, they stay on the hook.
Sure. I see he's got a bait casting reel, but most guys are running in spinning reels, and all our other rigs have spinning reels, but whatever your preference is, either way.
Yeah, you'll see some guy, it doesn't matter. My client rods are rigged up with bait caster. I have, for my client rods, I have X11s, they're 8.6 rods, medium heavy. You want to be able to have some sensitivity to be able to feel that bite. And
fast action, but like 7.5 to 8 foot range.
Yeah, and you don't want to go too long because we're casting a lot. You don't want to overcumber some rod. So yeah, I like to keep it like 8.6 or less. Like
And then casting accuracy, especially when we're running puffs, is pretty critical. You got to throw it where it needs to go. Okay. Yeah. All right. So moving on to the next presentation. So this would be the drift rod.
This is the drift rod. So what I'm running here, this is a 9.4 lemongrass red line. It's a 8 to 12. Yep.
Okay. 9 to 10 foot. It's a good range.
Yep. So 40-pound Power Pro again. Yep. Running it to a clear drift or a bow mag. I guess this is a bow mag bobber, or I like running those or clear drifts.
In this clear water too, these clear bobbers make a difference, don't they?
Yep. They do. I mean, you even see a lot of people running cork bobbers just to like stay under concealment.
Right.
Running that down to a 3/8 ounce inline, and I'm running 15-pound P-line salmon steelhead leader down to an 8-ounce jig.
So this is a sliding. There's a bobber knot that allows you to slide it up and down, and that changes the depth that you're fishing in the water column. So this allows you to fish all kinds of different spots.
Right. And what I typically like to do, like if I think the jig bite's on, and if we're fishing on the move, I'll rig up my leader to like the shallowest depth that we'll see. And then once we get to the bigger holes, that
Right.
way I can just run my leader and stay under concealment.
Right.
And then when we get to the deeper holes, I can
Right.
move that up as far as I want
And
to.
so you could also put a bead here. You could also put a jig head and a worm.
Right.
You got an example of a worm we can show them real
I
quick?
do.
Okay, so yeah.
So yeah, 1/8 ounce, again, 1/8 ounce jig head. Some people run 1/4 ounce. I don't like to run 1/4 ounce. 1/8 ounce gets down fast enough. But yeah, it's just, this is a, I think that's a WFO.
Right.
I cut them down a little bit for, depending on water level, depending on water clarity. I like running black, red, white.
Right.
Obviously, I love chartreuse too.
Yeah, you are chartreuse.
I'm crazy about
He's
chartreuse.
geeking on chartreuse.
Yeah.
Well, we changed the colors up, right? We've
Yeah.
made runs where we'll start with this color, then we'll change it again, then we change the presentation to a jig, then maybe we go to a straight bead,
Change
right?
the depth.
Change the depth.
Like, it's amazing
Yep.
what a 6 or 8 inch depth change will do in a
Yep.
run. And worms are a really good way to like change a lot of colors because you don't have to retie your jig head. You can just switch out worms. That was our winner today, huh?
It was. So, talk to me about plugging.
So plugging is a great way to hit a spot quick or to clean up after a hole. I like to use maglips.
Yep.
I use 3.0s, 3.5s. I doctor them up with a little bit of Sharpie work.
Yeah, and that's a 3.5 on this one.
This is a 3.5.
Tell me about your rigging at the bottom end.
So, yep, just running a split ring down to a small swivel. I think a swivel's really necessary.
Critical.
Like, I mean, on a hard plug, those fish, as soon as they bite it, you should have seen the takedown on this plug this morning. This rod about got ripped out of Brian's hand.
Yeah.
It was incredible. But yeah, I mean, I found that they like the black tails, the black bills. I like adding a black midline in it. I think it adds a little bit of contrast, and these fish really do like contrast.
So 40-pound Power Pro again with a top shot of 20?
So yeah, I'm running 20
Yep.
on that, 20-pound mono, and like mono. I don't typically go to fluoro for everything until I have to.
Yep.
Like, so when the water starts dropping and I want to stay
Right.
under concealment, but like that stretch in the mono is a really good.
Totally.
Yeah.
So a good plug rod too is a little softer on the top end because you really want that fish to commit and slam down on it. You don't want to be pulling back as soon as the first little tickle of a bite goes down, right?
Yeah,
good.
not set the hook.
Good plug rod's a
Yeah.
little softer up top, but about the same length as
It's a drift rod.
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, 8 foot is a good range, 8 to 9.
Yeah, typically, like, you'll see the rods that'll cross over between plugging and
Yep.
drifting.
Yep.
So.
Okay, and then what else? What other concepts do you find yourself doing throughout the season?
Bobber dogging, all right, so I run this just on the float rods that we have.
Okay, so this is a bobber dogging setup.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the concept with a bobber dog is what?
It's basically you're drifting in the seam with a bobber. Instead of having to recast every time, you can put that bobber in that seam and it's going to stay there and it's going to keep your presentation on the bottom, which is really good for beads.
And it's kind of an easier way to fish for some anglers, right? Because you throw a downstream loop when you're bobber dogging,
Right.
and the bobber, the way it's designed is designed to lay on its side rather than to run vertically.
Right. It wants that drag.
Right,
Want that drag.
and that's what pushes it downriver, and it puts your bead into the zone. And I've seen that you've run a little shot here as
Right.
well to help
Right,
bring it down.
Kind of bring it down. You want that bead just to be tapping on the bottom and like kind of fluttering behind your weight presentation. And depending on like water level and like clarity, like if the water was up, I'd be running half this amount of leader.
Yeah.
Like you can get away with
Yeah.
that. But like with, the gauge isn't working. I'm guessing we're probably getting close to sub 300 on the CFS. So the water's it's not gin clear. It has some stain in it, but still, like, being stealthy with the amount of pressure that these fish get on the river is very important.
There's a lot of fishing here, but there are also quite a bit of fishermen. So showing up prepared to try a number of different presentations, and looking, stay diligent, cast hard, stay focused all the way through from top to bottom of this river, and you'll definitely catch steelhead.
Yeah.
Let's go
do
get a
it.
few more, dude.
Heck yeah, man. Cool.
Thanks, brother.
That's good.
Yeah.